So that's the type of soil cores that we got. And as you can see, I mean, there's little tiny, we're in pretty heavy residue here, but little tiny pieces of corn fodder. But as we talk to labs, these will get sucked out in the grind process. Yeah. No major residue that's an issue at the lab.
That's actually a really clean sample. That's really good. That's kind of surprising, actually. So, yeah, really nice. Taking some of those questions away as far as the residue and the depth and the density of that, man, that makes a big difference in that and the quality of those samples. So that's pretty impressive.
If I'm an operator in the cab, basically this would take off to the next sample. It tells me I need to dump. I just swing this open. I gotta dump out my soil, and we have a pretty low stick surface here. If it were wet, we have a scraper to scrape it out. Put that back. This is all happening while we're driving, and now I have a good bag of soil, nice and full. Just scan it there, and we have our sample scanned. And what that scan does is it links it to that exact location. So that sample, that's where the link gets created between this barcode and the sample ID. We redesigned this ID here so that labs can check in our samples more efficiently. Some labs are scanning barcodes,
Yep.
Some are not. And so we provide a check-in sheet that gets printed out after the field is done that has these bag barcodes, IDs, and a table of that next to the sample ID. Okay. So the reason we have the last three super big is those last three are super big on the piece of paper, so they can really quickly, even if they're not using the barcode system, scan and say, okay, that's sample 3, and then they'll write 3 on this.
Okay.
And so again, it's just a little piece of the pie in terms of creating.
So friendly towards an automated system and a visual check-in.
Exactly.
Nice.
Exactly. It works for both.
After you guys take the sample, you ship directly to the lab, and it's out of the retailer's hand and it's out of the grower's hand. Basically, the job's done. They just wait for information to get fed back to them.
Yep, exactly. So again, my job as an operator, I haul this rig around, I get the robot set up for the field, and then it's going to drive itself once I hit go. So I load my mission. All the points are predetermined and pre-planned, and my job is to make sure the robot doesn't run into any obstacles, as well as dump the bucket into our funnel and in a soil bag and scan it. And the robot makes sure that I scan it as I'm going along, so I can't confuse which bags I'm scanning. So we're going to go through that process and put the machine in auto, and it's going to drive to our first sample location. So I'm not steering, I'm not touching the throttle. So you'll notice that it doesn't come up all the way because we're in auto mode and it knows it's going to take another core before there's a dump. So that's just to be more efficient. So it comes up to a safe position, and on the last core it will come up all the way for a dump. Telling me I've taken 3 out of 4 cores for this sample. Now we got the 4th core. It says dump is required, so we're driving. I got to keep my eyes up for safety, but grab my sample bag. Scan it. Set it into the box, and we're taking the cores of the next sample. So one thing I'll do on this next one is show how if I don't dump the sample before we get to the next sample, it'll actually wait on me before it takes the core. So we'll watch that. Now now we're sitting here ready to take our first core of the next sample, but I haven't dumped yet. So it's saying, hey, we're waiting for a dump. You got to dump the sample. So, oh crap, I got behind as an operator. That happens. I'm gonna get my bag queued up. And as soon as I shut this door, it'll proceed. And so we really try to look at the entire ecosystem around soil sampling and make sure that everyone is being served really well. The lab, you, our customer, the operator sitting in the cab, and all of that. The easier you make life on all those groups, the better result the farmer gets.
And the less mistakes that are going to happen.
The less mistakes that are going to happen. Yep. Exactly. So Brad, at the end of the day, can you tell me a little bit about why you guys choose ROGO? We're not the cheapest. We're typically pretty expensive. Why does that make sense at the end of the day for you guys?
So for a lot of our clients, we're looking first to push yields and grow more corn, but ultimately it's all about costs and being efficient and making money. So when we start looking at all these variables as far as what we see, and typically I'll see soil tests come back from several different labs through a year. And there can be a lot of swings and variations in from one spot to another in a field naturally, but it also throws out the question then, well, are we seeing reality or are we seeing variability taken by the sampling equipment, by the guy running the equipment, or the guy taking the sample manually? So it always throws in a couple extra questions there, and you end up working a lot of times on a field average or that kind of information instead of being really reliant and sufficiently comfortable with zones or grids that you're looking at. So ultimately you kind of get what you pay for in that world, and the consistency of that becomes more and more important because we're paying more and more for fertilizer, seed inputs, all those things. And as we try to vary those things or get those more pinpointed, being able to 100% rely on a soil test it's a paramount part of what we do, but it also gets overlooked and dismissed quite often as just something that needs to happen. But there's a lot of value that needs to be placed on that information, not only for the initial year, but the next 2 or 3 years that you're relying on that same piece of information. So to get it right the very first time and get it done quickly and efficiently between harvest and all these other operations that have to happen immediately following, that can be a pretty big deal. And it does get swept under the rug, unfortunately. So having a reliable and quick service that's going to give you a quality product, I think that's moving forward just becomes more and more valuable.
Well, thanks so much for
thanks for having us.
Indiana.
Thanks for having us over. Super day, super interesting. So yeah, looking forward to learning a little more about what you guys do, and sounds like there's some other projects we could cover maybe in the future. So yeah, really nice.